It really is an in-between time. It's an in-between time. I know that still in many cities, people are protesting and expressing and taking their right given to us by the Constitution to say what we disagree with. I know that that is going on peacefully now, and it's very important work. But it still puts us in this in-between time, this place where we don't quite have a map, terra cognito, incognito. We don't know what the journey's about. And when I think about that, and the labyrinth being such a wonderful symbol of journey, such a wonderful inner experience of journey as well as an outer one, and a lot of us have made that outer journey perhaps to Chartres or Grace Cathedral or the many places in the country that have labyrinths. That journey is often referred to as a pilgrimage. And pilgrimage is very important. You may know or you may not know that during the Protestant Reformation, pilgrimage was outlawed. It was outlawed and dismissed by the Protestant churches coming in, and it was only the Roman Catholic churches doing that. And it was dismissed, and Martin Luther even wrote against it, wrote in his writings against it. Again, it's the swing of the pendulum, the times, the day of the times, and since the fall of the Berlin Wall, that has really energized the act of pilgrimage. And so, in the act of pilgrimage, it's a place of in-between. Often you leave behind your home, you venture out in some way. And of course, during medieval times, this was a very important thing to do, that especially during Lent, people would make the pilgrimages to these great cathedrals. I don't know necessarily they would walk a labyrinth. I think later on in the 1700s that came in. But the sense that pilgrimage, you step into the unknown. And so we could frame this whole time as liminal space. We could frame this whole time as that world in between, that we are all pilgrims journeying somewhere. Now it's interesting that in Europe, pilgrimage, they had a destination, a sacred place, a place of healing like Fatima, a reason to go, to be forgiven of your sins, or nowadays, a huge transition in our lives. A divorce, a death of a parent or a spouse. There's all sorts of reasons to be on pilgrimage. But that was to a destination. Now there's a different model of pilgrimage from the Celtic tradition. And that is often you would get in a boat and just let the water take you. You wouldn't know where you're going. You'd have no idea. You're really kind of casting your life and your soul to literally the winds and the waters to see where it takes you. So however you want to frame this time, maybe you know where you're going. Maybe you don't. A lot of us don't know about what's ahead for us. Even if we are in wonderfully secure places where we're safe, where we have our friends and family intact, where we're not struggling with loneliness. But all of these things are percolating under the surface for sure. So I found a lovely poem, thanks to a friend of mine who's on this call. A lovely book called Circles of Grace by Jan Richardson. So if you want some spiritual reading, this would be a lovely, lovely place to go. And it's titled, For Those Who Have Far to Travel. For those who have far to travel. And this will be in our resources, so not to worry about writing that down. So let me just simply read this. If you could see the journey whole, you might never undertake it, might never dare the first step that propels you from the place you have known toward the place you know not. Call it one of those mercies of the road, that we see it only by stages as it opens before us, as it comes into our keeping, step by single step. There is nothing for it but to go, and by our going, take the vows the pilgrims take. To be faithful to the next step. To rely on more than just a map. To heed the signposts of intuition and dream. To follow the star that only you will recognize. To keep an open eye for the wonders that attend the path. To press beyond distractions, beyond fatigue, beyond fear, beyond what would tempt you from the way. There are vows that only you will know, the secret promises for your particular path, and the new ones you will need to make when the road is revealed by turns you could not have foreseen. Keep the vows, break them, make them again. Each promise becomes part of the path. Each choice creates the road that will take you to the place where at last, you will kneel to offer the gift most needed, the gift that only you can give before turning to go home by another way. I think these vows are important. And I'd encourage you to think about what vows you need to make for this part of your journey, where we're in this in-between time, And as a way to find our way to that in-between time, I'd like to show you some photos and introduce you to an artist that's not too well known in the United States. It's someone who I met in Argentina. And when we were putting a labyrinth in on the Veritas board, we all flew down to Argentina to put this labyrinth into a city square as a way of hoping and helping the city heal because they were such a place where Nazis found their home for many decades after the war. So let me take a moment. And show this. So liminal space, that place in between. And this is fuzzy. This is in the distance. This often, to me, has the feel of something unknown, something uneasy. You can't see it, you can't figure it out, you can't make it out, you just need to be present with it. Now, the person is drawing and painting these wonderful paintings. I'm going to show a few more. Is Mauricio Martinez, and this is the gentleman we met in La Falda, and I think it was before dinner at this retreat center. We were invited to go in and see a few paintings, you know, ho-hum, you know, kind of thing. And then we're introduced. Here's Mauricio. And the painting in the back just gives you a little flavor of some of his work. So here, and he fell in love with the Chart Labyrinth way before he walked the Chart Labyrinth. And he has hundreds of paintings. These are available to you. I'll give you a website in a moment. But one of the strong themes is that the labyrinth is a bridge, and that the labyrinth holds the liminal world, the world in between, where we bring our fresh and open hearts, where we bring our tears, where we bring our pain, our loneliness, our fears, our joy as well. And so his paintings to me capture that, the beauty of the world in between. So let these photos be with you as we begin to enter our meditation. The world in between. This is where the Legacy Labyrinth Project, Chris Katzenmeyer, who's heading that up, she's pointed me toward this, and she was on our trip down to La Falda, so that's how we know of them. So let me again take a moment to come back. And I want to invite you to bring your finger meditation tool toward you, and allow yourself to be present with that. And my hope is that this in-between land becomes present for you. It's a place of manifestation. It's a place where things can reorganize themselves. It's a place where we can open our hearts and truly say what's on our hearts and on our minds. So with your finger meditation tool, let yourself bring it to your presence. And sure, if you need to go get one, go ahead, and that's fine. Also, we are mentioning about downloading Labyrinth Journeys from the App Store, a totally free app. And it's a wonderful way of being able to capture and have an experience of walking the labyrinth. And you have a choice of music or not. And I will choose music. I've gotten a lot of wonderful feedback about the music that I've been using. So it's called the Spirit of Reiki. So I'll be playing that in a moment. I'm sort of waiting for some folks to come back here. So as you place your hands on your finger meditation tool, let yourself say hello to it. Let it know you're back. Let it know that you want to be present with it. And you may want to just move your hand around the surface, probably in a clockwise way, if that feels right. I know we have some folks from Australia with us, so maybe that doesn't feel right. Whatever feels right. That sense of trusting yourself to intuition, to always, when you're approaching a labyrinth, let your body tell you what wants to happen. And then take a moment to perhaps put your feet on the floor and let yourself become present to yourself. And begin to breathe. As you're moving around the labyrinth, breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And let yourself just simply become present with the labyrinth. And I'll begin the music. So take a moment as we finish our meditation. It's important not to rip yourself away from your feelings, your thoughts. You might want to jot something down. I think it might be helpful to read the poem again, seeing that response, and then just a brief blessing at the end. So here's the poem again. For those who have far to travel. If you could see the journey whole, you might never undertake it, might never dare the first step that propels you from the place you have known toward the place you know not. Call it one of the mercies of the road, that we see it only by stages as it opens before us, as it comes into our keeping, step by single step. There is nothing for it but to go, and by our going, take the vows the pilgrims take. Be faithful to the next step, to rely on more than just a map, to heed the signposts of intuition and dream, to follow the star that only you will recognize, to keep an open eye for the wonders that attend the path, to press beyond distractions, beyond fatigue, beyond what would tempt you from the way. There are vows that only you will know. There are secret promises for your particular path, and the new ones you will need to make when the road is revealed by turns you could not have foreseen. Keep the vows, break them, make them again. Each promise becomes part of the path. Each choice creates the road that will take you to the place where at last you will kneel to offer the gift most needed, the gift that only you can give before turning to go home by another way. Jan Richardson, excuse me. So you may want to reflect on your vows and the vows that you may need going forward in this liminal time, this bridge building time. And if you feel you don't have a labyrinth in your life, one that you can walk, I'd actually urge you to check the labyrinth locator. There's a lot of labyrinths out there that are not in institutions or not in churches that may be found, and it may surprise you. So let me end simply with this very famous Irish blessing. May the road rise to greet you. May the winds be always at your back. May the rain fall softly on your field. And may God hold you in the palm of her hand. So blessings all, blessings, and be safe. We know that there are still spiking numbers almost everywhere in this country. Be wise, be safe, and blessings on the path. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.